We are all magnets. You are what you attract.
In today's episode, we're diving into the innovation code.
How you guys doing? My name is Chris Lyons. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, and lifelong creative. And you are watching The Blessed Code.
We believe one person can build $1 billion business now with the tools that you have and understanding how to leverage AI.
Culture isn't just part of the conversation on innovation. It is the conversation.
What's the future of AI? What's happening with the next generation of crypto? And we are getting the tools to be able to take control of all of our work. Life is about momentum, and you got to keep the momentum going. Unfortunately, nobody cares. It's a tough reality, but that gives you the ability to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm gonna take accountability for how I'm gonna show up. If we don't do it, somebody else will.
It's time for something that's just for us. It's time to unlock something new. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you're tuned in to The Blessed Code. In today's episode, we're diving into the innovation code, decoding how culture isn't just a part of the conversation on innovation, it is the conversation. And there's no better example of this than my good friend, Chris Lyons. Chris has been a bridge connecting Black culture to capital, creativity to code, and authenticity to innovation. Through his work with the Cultural Leadership Fund at Andreessen Horowitz, and now beyond that, he has proven that when you invest in culture, you invest in the future. He's shown the world that culture, identity isn't a barrier to business. It's a blueprint for breakthrough. This aligns with Proverbs 18:18, which says, a man's gift maketh room for him, and before him is a great man. Chris's gift has not only made room, it's expanded the room for others to step into their purpose, power, and potential. Let this be a reminder when we walk boldly in who we are and bring our full selves to the table. We don't just innovate, we shift generations. My brother.
That's what's up.
Chris Lyons.
My dog.
Yes, sir, man. It's good seeing you, brother, man. Listen,
so good to see you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man, and I'm honored and grateful to have you on this very, very important subject. And I'm just a firm believer that our kids can't be what they don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about most urban communities, we don't see, we don't know of, and what it is to be like you, Chris Lyons. And I want them to know you. I want them to see you because you are the example. So talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Chris Lyons?
Man, I mean, I'm someone that has always just had a mantra of thoughts to things. You know, I think that thinking is the true business of life, and, you know, having this idea of taking an idea and turning it into something is always just been something I've been fascinated with. And so starting off with me, you know, being in the music industry as a music producer and engineer, like the idea of just going into a studio and you just come up with this thought and this vision and this energy that can then turn it into a song that can, you know, go across stadiums and transform lives and have people, you know, share some of their best moments with that. Like wow. The idea of just having a thought that now can then bring into something so big that can go into everywhere. And then, you know, applying that same thesis to every single thing, whether it's a business, whether it's technology, and, you know, going from coding up a project, we say technology is like the modern day alchemy because, wow. You know, just with a computer, you have the ability to create $1 billion business and change your entire life and family and create digital gold literally now with,
Wow.
with crypto and so many other places. But it's just this idea of how can you, get your ideas out, and how can you get your visions and your goals out, and and the art of doing that. That's always been who I am, and that's what I like to do, and we're still blessed with the opportunity to keep going every day.
That's extraordinary. So let me ask you, Chris, at what point did you begin to realize how powerful the connection was with cultural influence and technology?
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I think it was you could see how culture has impacted so many different industries, whether it was music, fashion, art, film, you name it, culinary. Like, culture is embedded into every single thing that we do. And especially when you talk about Black culture and how we've been, at the forefront of innovation when it comes to these different mediums. And, Black culture is oftentimes connected with consumer culture, right? And just within probably the last 10, 15 years, we have seen consumer culture move onto the internet. And when you think about companies like Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Snap, you name it, like, once culture embedded those projects and got embedded into those ecosystems, you saw our influence really start to take off into that. And so, with me, I've been working in technology since 2010, working at the firm since 2013, and, being the only brother in the room at the time, seeing that we were at the forefront of where all this next generation technology was going. And so, and as opposed to being being the last in mind, when Instagram came out, when Facebook came out, when Twitter came out, like, figuring out at the end, I said, well, we should make sure culture and our connected tissue and our influence should happen at the very beginning stages. And being fortunate enough to invest in the companies at the seed stage, their first initial round, to connecting the dots on some of the fastest growing companies in technology, and being able to infuse culture in a way that is connected with what we believe in, but also with what the technology is happening at the same time. And I think it's an art and it's a science, but the best part is when it's done right, you don't even realize it, because that's what culture really is. It's a deeper root of who you are connected with what it is that you're going after. And when you can bring those two worlds together, you get something that's way bigger than just Silicon Valley, or way bigger than just Black culture. You really, you have this infused shared genius that is really where the future of multiple industries can kind of connect at the same time.
That is phenomenal. And what's interesting about that is that so many of us don't get it. Don't get it. Don't understand our power. Don't understand our cultural influence, because, quite frankly, we are the innovators.
Absolutely.
We are the creators.
For
we're
sure.
the most talented. We're the most gifted. We're the most intelligent. And we don't realize that.
We got power. We got power in our DNA.
So what's interesting with that is just to, so the viewers can learn a bit more about yourself. So you talked about, or you mentioned, art and science and culture. So just take me back to some of your childhood. What was Chris Lyons then, and what did you dream of then, and did you see yourself where you are now then, and just the evolution and growth of Chris?
I always give credit to my parents, because my mom was a free spirit and my dad was, like, very business forward and business minded. My mom was also an entrepreneur too. And so, I always tend to lean on the free spirit side, but getting a chance to understand the best of both worlds has always been a really big component for me. And, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old, cutting grass, and always was just liking finding the cool new things. I was the kid that would, have the first, color phone or ringtones, or the first iPod, and just because I wanted to always see where the future was going. And so that's always just been my interest, is just technology and how the world is gonna go, and then what I can do to kind of create my own ideas that can fall into the place. And so I think at a young age, I read this book called Key to Yourself, and it really gave me the blueprint for how I want to live my life, which is that, and I mentioned this in the beginning, is that every single thing, that from this table to this cup to the candle, comes from somebody's idea, right? And so we're living in this world where, we can create whatever environment we want to, but you also realize that you're living in someone else's environment at the same time. And when you understand that, you have two choices. You can continue to be on the other side of just being a part of the consumption, or you can choose to actually say, well, I can create something. I can create a coffee brand, and it could be my coffee brand. I can create a candle company. I can create a hair care products. And this is going to be my version in how I want to live reality. And when you realize that, life is actually just energy, it gives you a different mindset in terms of what you can create and how you can actually put things out into the world.
That is so powerful. And I want you all to know this. God has given you the spirit of no fear, but the power of love and a clear, sound mind. He's given you the power to create, like my brother Chris just articulated, to create the life that you deserve. But how can we create when we don't even believe in thyself?
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he in his heart. And these thoughts, these doubts, these insecurities that we continue to struggle with as men, and not embracing this blessing of being persistent and consistent and creating the things in the life that we desire. In fact, I was just at a service yesterday. Pastor Joel Tubman spoke on this, and he talked on the power of embracing persistence, because persistence breaks down resistance. Persistent breaks down resistance, but we continue to doubt ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris, you made a decision at a young age. It sounds like you were a dreamer.
Yeah, I love it.
That you wanted more, that you had a curious mind of where this world would evolve and how you could be impactful in your own way to this world, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, no, I think, and just echoing what you just said, I always believe that, the two most powerful words you can ever say is I am, because whatever you say after that is off to the races. If you're tired, then that's the energy you're going to bring out. If you are grateful, that's what's going to come in. If you're happy, if you're healthy, if you're young, if you're strong, if you're powerful, affirmations are extremely important. And I think that everybody focuses so much lately on the thing, the output, but the input that you actually can put into yourself, I feel like, is the ultimate cheat code. Because when you know how to fuel yourself with the right information, when you know how to fuel yourself with the right books, with the right frequencies, I'm huge into frequencies in terms of getting your energy together, because that's we're magnets, like we really are. And I think that over the course of my journey, which is ups and downs and challenges and situations and trying to figure out how to do things. It doesn't matter what your education is. It doesn't matter, what your background comes from. We are all magnets, and what you attract. And it's so important to make sure that when you're having, I attribute every single opportunity that has kind of put me into the next situation and the next chapter. It had nothing to do with me hustling and putting the things out there. It flows,
Right.
you know, and so you have to learn how to get into the right flow. And I think that is where I feel like the next wave of not just innovation, but personal trajectories that we don't spend enough time on, because everyone wants to focus on the hustle. Everyone wants to focus on, let me meet the right person. Let me do this and that. You know, the best things happen when that come naturally without you even having to figure out how that even happened. But you did the work beforehand. And I think that applies with, you know, when you're thinking about business, when you're even thinking about an idea, when like, I always get excited. It's kind of like when I was making music, or the same thing when an idea comes together. It's like when the thing hits you, like that's when I'm like, man, that's all you need. All you need is the idea to come in, and once it's up to you to then go and act on that. You know, when I wanted to build a startup in the restaurant technology space. Like I had no idea how to do that. I didn't know what was going to happen, but once it hit me out, and you could feel that, okay, that idea aligns with the way I need to actually go 100% on. That's the biggest gift in the world. Wow. But being able to be conscious enough to understand when that right thing happens that's the art. Because you might have ideas that you might push down and say, hey, you know, I don't want to do that, or I'll do that later, or this is somebody else can do that. And, you know, that could have been that blessing, that could have been that opportunity that really would have put you to that next level. And so it's a combination of being able to be in tune with when the right thing happens, with also being ready to go out and make it happen too. Wow. Because you need the best of both worlds. And you can't, you know, what is it said? Faith without works is dead.
100%.
Right. 100%. And so like you can have the faith, but you got to put in the work.
100%.
You know, and so, but I think these are frameworks that are beyond. It doesn't matter if you're in technology or if you want to, you know, start your own coffee shop. Like these are fundamentals that you can apply to all different parts of your life. And I think that, you know, it all starts with who you are on the inside.
Wow. It's funny. My wife and I, we tell our kids this all the time. What you focus on grows. Mm-hmm. And when you think about these ideas, it's a blessing to get an idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Because here's the thing, we teach our kids this. That idea is something to be reckoned with, because you're simply one idea away from something great.
Absolutely.
But you in your own way of thinking continue to doubt your idea, which means you're doubting yourself, which means you're not believing in yourself.
Yep.
But someone else believes in you, but you don't believe in yourself.
No, they can push you to the wall, or they can't make you drink, man. You know, and I think that's why I love technology as a medium for getting out your ideas, because I think that, especially now more than ever, with what's going on with the future of crypto, or what's going on with AI, and these tools that are available. And, you know, when I was first starting a company, you know, you had to be an engineer. You know, you had to be a software engineer. You had to spend, you know, raise $500,000 in order to get a team together to go build out a product, to go to market and launch an app and do all these things. It was ridiculous and hard.
Right.
And, you know, but that was where the times were. And if you fast forward to what's going on today, you have endless ability to, you know, we believe one person can build $1 billion business now with the tools that you have, and understanding, you know, how to leverage AI, how to use the idea and the art of what we call prompt engineering. Like right. you could say ChatGPT, like, hey, I want to make a podcast, and it's going to tell you the 3 steps on how to make a podcast. Or you can say, hey, I want to make a podcast that's focused on faith and business and education and targeting this specific audience that then is going to go, you know, capture this type of story. And by just having the details in the prompting gives you a much deeper and richer opportunity. And imagine now you can use that to apply to your ideas, or, you know, if you want to create a company and going into these details. And, you know, we have the world's access to the world's information available right now.
Mm.
And you don't need to be a software engineer, and you don't have to do anything. All the technology is available, and I think that now more than ever, anybody can go out and build and do whatever you want, which is.
And here's the thing: when you think about access,
Mhm.
it's here, it's right there, it's at your fingertips, and we don't even use it. We don't even tap into it. Mind boggles me as I think about what we now have, but we still don't use. We still don't embrace the technology. We're still operating from our past ways.
Mhm.
We're still operating in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Versus what we're equipped to today.
For sure. Well, and even when you think about just the framework of what success and what career looks like, you know, you used to have to go to school, go to college, get a entry level job, you know, then work your way up into the system. Like, we're playing on an old system. When we realize that the playing field has been leveled by everybody, and it's free game for every single person now.
Mhm.
And the rules are changing, and you know, this is the first time that we can all have access to the same types of information. You don't have to go to Harvard, you don't have to go to Yale, you don't have to go to Morehouse, you don't have to go to Spelman. Like, all you got to do is go to the internet.
Wow.
And you can have the world's resources right there available for you. And I think that this is literally a transformational moment, just with what we have going on, and who's building these amazing companies and these amazing products and ideas. But it's so important that we have access to the information. And I think that, you know, that's always been the ultimate gatekeep. You know, people like crypto was available in 2009 when Bitcoin first came out, but when people are just now buying it today, or or just now hearing about it, that was a whole wealth transfer that happened. And the reason that you may or may not participated is not because you liked or disliked Bitcoin or crypto, other different types of blockchain technology. It was that you didn't have access to the information.
Wow.
And so we want to be able to, and that's one of the main reasons why, I love doing what I'm doing, is being able to help kind of promote that, hey, like, this is the world. Whether or not you want to do it or not is up to you. But I'm trying to tell you, like, I've seen on what's happening on the other side, and this is the most exciting time. And this is the way for us to change our families' futures. This is the way for us to get those ideas out and do everything that you need to do.
So, and to just build on that, as we think about our communities, and I like to ask on diversity, how do we bridge this diversity gap within this current climate?
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I think, there's a couple ways. I think the most important thing is believing that you can do it. And I think that, oftentimes we're our own biggest setback in terms of saying, hey, I am a 1% of an industry. I mean, there's probably 1 or 2% of people that look like us that are in technology, and 0.1% that are in venture capital.
0.1%.
It's a very small crew, but we have a very strong crew too of people that are in venture that are doing amazing work and really redefining the future of venture capital and the future of technology industry. But I think that the mentality has to go from being the 1% as being a bad thing, to the 1% of being that means that I, by default, think different than anybody else when I'm in the room. And while everyone else has this same background, this same perspective, the same mentality, the same vision on how they see the world, with me being, having a completely different mindset, that's actually my competitive advantage. Mm. And when I first started working in Silicon Valley, and when I first came to the Bay, and got into this whole technology industry, I was the only brother in the room. And
wow.
and I could have been like, oh man, this is a huge issue. This is something that, I don't feel comfortable. And I was like, well, look,
everybody will remember me because I'm the only brother here, right? And so by using, and then being able to build out the relationships, have the connections, navigate the room, leave an impression, even from our perspective. Like, we focus so much in a world that's IQ based. You have to be the smartest person. You have to know how to do this. You have to do that. Like, EQ is the new wealth transfer. And I think that knowing how to have creativity, knowing how to understand what new businesses are going to happen, knowing how to think outside the box, knowing how to infuse different industries and cultures, and connecting crypto with the arts world, or connecting AI with the future of fashion and film, and being able to have that center point of who we are and what we know how to do. Wow. I think that that's going to be where the next generation is, and where the next wave is going to come from.
Wow.
And they're going to be looking for not people who know how to code, because the technology can code itself, but they want to look for people that understand how to bring something to life and make it relevant and make it valuable. And that's our culture. And so, I think now is the best time ever. Like I said, for us to really go ahead and make this thing happen.
I am all smiles ear to ear, and I'm just here at awe and such of a proud moment here, and a bit emotional, because what you just articulated is what our kids, our communities need to hear, need to see, need to embrace. And it starts with the belief in thyself. Believing
Absolutely.
that you have what it takes, that you deserve to be in that room, that you can be impactful, that you can deliver, that you can make it happen. And it just starts with that belief in yourself and knowing that you are capable. My brothers, God has equipped you. He has given you the vision. He has given you power. He has given you provision. But you won't allow God to work through you. He's trying to put you in position, but you continue to doubt yourself, which ultimately becomes displeasing to God. And as you see my brother articulate himself and showing you how all he did was believe in himself, and knowing that he was capable, and knowing that he did not have to embrace the spirit of imposter syndrome, that he knew that he belonged, and he knew that he had something to offer greater than someone else. I encourage you, as you continue to walk and live your journey, live it with boldness, courageousness, confidence, and belief within yourself that you are capable of all things. And I tell you, Chris, that is one of the major problems that us as a culture, as a community, that we struggle with. And many of us never begin to realize it until it's too late.
Yep.
And just imagine what life would be if many did not wait until it was too late. So Chris, I gotta interject you there, my brother, because what you just articulated was so powerful. What you just showed our listeners was that they are in fact equipped with everything that they need to be successful in their lives. It's not about having the greatest level of a post-secondary education. In fact, it's not about having access to capital in the moment. They're equipped. And I want you to help them understand as to why they have everything that they need to be successful.
I think you have everything that you need in order to be successful, as long as you remember that it's fueled by courage. And you have to be, like you said, you have to be strong and very courageous. And you have to tell yourself that, because, it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. And it's hard to see what the next step looks like when you're, just now getting started. In tech, we call it going from 0 to 1, the idea of going from nothing to something. I think that with today, we don't even have to worry about getting in those rooms, because you have the tools that are available to design your own rooms. You have the tools that are available to design your own things. Companies are being rebuilt from the ground up now because a new infrastructure is happening. You have a world of ownership that is being created through decentralized technologies with blockchains and different types of companies that are allowing you to take control, which is what we've always been inspired to do. But the problem is that we've been living in these centralized systems, that where we think that we own our TikTok followers. And next thing you know, a potential ban happens, and for 24 hours, your entire network that you thought that you owned, somebody else just took that from you. You think that you own your Instagram followers. At any moment, someone can charge you $100 a month or can immediately take off, whatever, and shadow ban you, do all these different components, right? Same thing with YouTube, Spotify. Only less than 1% of people on Spotify make over $50,000 or more a year.
Wow.
And because the majority of the money is going to these centralized systems. But now, because of what's happening with the future of AI, what's happening with the next generation of crypto, and we are getting the tools to be able to take control of all of our work. Take control of how we think about the future of film with using generative AI, how we're thinking about building the next generation of software companies using blockchain technologies, being able to use NFTs and different projects to now upload your own music and upload your own ticketing platform. So now you can kind of get control and flip it so that instead of you having to rely on somebody else, which is how the entire quote unquote Web 2 era has been based off of, where you're relying on these platforms and these ecosystems. Now you can actually take control and take ownership of everything that you got going on. And the tools that when you originally needed 100 people in order to, build out a movie, now with a simple prompt, you can now create your own idea that was in your head and then put it out there. But, all this stuff is available now, and it's available for everyone, and the majority of it is free to use. You just have to believe that, one, you can do it. Two, you got to get the ideas. And three, you have to have the creativity. And the most important thing is you got to have the courage, because whenever you put something out there in the world, that's when you're birthing that thing. But it's always challenging, because when you're putting it out there, you think someone's going to criticize you, someone's going to do this, someone's going to think bad about it, someone's going to do that. But the only thing worse than someone critiquing it is someone not actually giving you the opportunity to critique it. And that's by not putting it out there. And the world is only built off of things that people had the courage to put them out there. This table, somebody had the courage in order to design that table and went through the whole process. Whether or not they thought that it was the most beautiful thing or they wanted to put it out there, but somebody bought it. And that generated the next big thing for them to do.
Right.
And in life, the most important thing for me that I've always fueled myself off is life is about momentum. And you got to keep the momentum going. Whether it's the small wins, whether it's the ideas, whether it's the, waking up in the morning before you go out and you want to write a little bit of that book, or you want to do that music before you go and start the day. You want to go do the reading to understand what the industry is. You have to go step by step off of the momentum that you're generating, you're creating, because that's what life is. And if you're not putting that step by step every day, then you're going to wonder why things aren't happening. We know this. Ain't nobody going to do nothing for you.
Right.
And nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. You can sit down and say, this person didn't do this person did me wrong. They did this, like you name it. Why didn't I get that opportunity? Like, unfortunately, nobody cares. And it's a tough reality. And it's one that I don't like to admit is the truth, but it is. But that gives you the ability to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I got to take accountability for what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take accountability for how I'm going to show up, who I want to become, how I want to represent myself in the room, how I want to go through and create something that needs to exist in this world. That puts the whole pressure on you. And, when times get tough, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I think that now's the time for us to really look at ourselves and say, not only do we have the tools, do we have the ability, but like we got the power, and if we don't do it, somebody else will.
It's interesting because preparation is the keys to your success. Preparation. As I prepare for the day ahead, as I prepare for the year ahead, as I prepare for my greater tomorrow, how am I preparing? And do I truly embrace the belief in thyself and also embracing the process? You mentioned process, because we can't get to our promise without going through the process, right?
Yep.
With the TikToking or the Instagramming right now, we're looking for the instant gratification. We're looking for the clicks. We're looking for the clickbait. We're looking for the comments.
Yep.
Versus just putting the work in.
And doing it quietly. Another thing is that when you have a vision and when you have an idea for something, everybody just wants to go out and say it. I'm doing this. I got this going on. I'm about to build this. I'm going to do that. Now, that's great to let everybody know. But one of the important things is that by holding it in, there's a certain power that you can get by not sharing your ideas with everybody until it actually goes out there. Because it's funny, when you say, I'm going to do this, your body and your mind gets the same gratification as if you already did it.
Wow.
And so you feel like you've already done something and you haven't done anything at all.
Wow.
As opposed to keeping that same fire and that same energy and keeping it inside. And yeah, maybe you got your close circle that you can talk to about it, but silence is one of the biggest things that can really drive your career and your goals to the next level.
So Chris, that is so interesting, brother. Let me ask you, what would you say was one of the hardest things that challenged you, but you actually saw its full manifestation and brought it to life?
It keeps going every day. We have this theory that we call the idea maze, right? Where it's like, how has your entire life got you into this position? So from your high school job to what you did in college to what, the things that you're passionate about, to that random job that you had right when you got out of school, to, and so it's your whole journey, your life's journey. And, for me, I think that the hardest thing that I had to do was building the CLF originally, because it was something that literally did not exist. There was no fund ever that was comprised 100% of the world's greatest Black executives, artists, entrepreneurs, entertainers. They didn't even really care about venture capital at the time. I think that, when it came to this mentality shift that we had to go from endorsements to equity, introducing people into how to learn about venture capital, and the art of it, the art of investing, the art of why, putting a check into a seed company is way better than, getting $200,000 to promote a product, right? And so there was a lot of education, there was a lot of art, and also to do it on the grand stage with, the incredible firm that I've been privileged to work with, and I think that was extremely difficult to build that into life. And then from there, being the first Black general partner at A16Z and at any top tier 1 VC firm, like that was extremely difficult in terms of having that vision from the very beginning. Because, like I started off as Ben's chief of staff, and there was no specific roadmap for me to make it to GP, and you had to create it. But the first thing when I was 20 something years old, I had to tell myself, like, I believe I can do that regardless of if there's a path, and you had to create one. And so from creating CLF to creating the chief of staff position to getting to the point of understanding how venture capital works, and and getting to that grand goal that I had, which was becoming a GP. Like, and not just becoming a GP, but becoming a GP knowing
my background. No, I started off as working as an intern for Jermaine Dupri as a music producer and engineer, getting a degree in recording arts and entertainment business, and working at Cheesecake Factory, and starting a random startup that still needs to exist today for having.
But all those have prepared you.
They all it put me into that big moment to where, as opposed to shedding the things that you've done in the past that have gotten you where you are, those are the tools. And that is the earned secrets. That's the things that that nobody else knows. And, that's half the battle. The other half is when you know something that nobody else knows, you have to have the courage to actually go out and build that thing, because it's a good idea that looks like a bad idea.
So then with that, because all the things you articulated from your past and prior jobs and whatever that looked like, a part of your journey has prepared you, but then you had this great idea to form Cultural Leadership Fund, which leads me to the why. Why did you want to create this? To do what?
It became very clear to me that the next generation of wealth was happening within the technology industry. And Black people and people of color needed to have a seat at that table. And, we needed to be on the cap tables of these businesses. We needed to be in the rooms when we're designing the next generation of the infrastructure and the software, and making sure that we have executive positions, internships, careers in Silicon Valley and in the technology space. We need to understand that what's happening in this world is not going backwards. What's going on with crypto, what's going on with AI, how can we easily decode what these things are so that we have access to the information? And the world is being built around us. It's specifically within Silicon Valley and within the future of the technology industry. And, for me, I wanted to do it in a way that represented us. That was cool, that was fun, that was collaborative, that was innovative, that allowed us to put these two, great cultural leaders and amazing founders together in a room and see what happens when they just brainstorm ideas, and then watch that turn into code that then people use on a day-to-day basis. And I think that for me, that's always been the journey of being able to kind of see what happens when you put things that are often don't make sense. You think about Airbnb, like who would have thought it was a good idea to sleep in a stranger's home? That sounds like a crazy idea, right? And then, Brian Chesney has completely redefined and transformed the entire hospitality industry. Or who thought it was a good idea to sit in a stranger's car? Right. And that companies like Lyft and Uber have completely revolutionized how we move around all around the world. And there's so many more good ideas that look like crazy, insane things. But I'm just trying to make sure to let people know that's actually the thing you should be going after. Because if everyone's going after the same thing, you're going to have 18 million people that are all finding that one idea, as opposed to taking that road less traveled. Wow. Taking the vision that that nobody has gone after accomplishing yet, and the only reason that has happened is because we're waiting on you to get that idea out. Wow. And I think that technology is the modern day alchemy, and I personally do believe that if it's the best new way in order to get ideas out, and I want to just kind of raise the flag and, light the sparks and tell everybody, hey, come over here. Wow. Come try out like what's happening when you put a little bit of culture and code together.
So listen, Chris, all you have fundamentally done was this. You said yes. You said yes to creating something that was unheard of, that wasn't seen within our communities, to creating things that would benefit generations to come. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I was just having this conversation around the things that we do now will materially not only impact the current or our families or our communities, but these generations that aren't in existence, mm-hmm. that will be here. And we fail to realize that as a culture. And I just want everyone that's listening and viewing this show to understand how necessary they are for the generations to come.
For sure.
And that what we do now determines the greater tomorrow. You had an idea to create something to give us access, to give us an opportunity to come to the table, create our table to where we can come together, share wisdom, share ideas, not just for the now, but for the greater tomorrow. My brothers, that is what it's all about. That is what it's all about. The Bible says, iron sharpens iron. And what Chris just articulated is simply that. And that's a pure example of what that is. And it is on us to create those spaces, those opportunities, the opportunities to access to things that we've never had. Because where you come from or where you've been or your current situation does not determine your final destination. Together, we can truly create the life that we deserve, that our children deserve, that our generations to come deserve. They don't deserve to live how we live. They don't deserve to have to live how our ancestors live. It's on us because our ancestors and our grandparents before us have paved the way for us to be even having this conversation today.
Absolutely.
They've paved the way for us to get in position, to help get them in position. But we continue to stay in our position of doubt, disbelief. And what you just articulated is so important on the idea of selflessness, of creating things that are above and beyond us, right? And it's the idea only if we embrace what I call, how do I just do my part? That's an example of doing your part. And as you do your part, I do my part, and we all do our part. And then that table we just created, we're bringing that together. Just imagine what it really looks like.
The
right?
table that we created. And that's the point. We can create the table. We don't have to join the table. We don't have to, be welcomed into the table. Like we're in an age now where we can create the table.
Well, we can create the table. Just imagine the table that we create, but we continue to be stuck and stagnant in our own ways and wonder why life remains to be what it is, right? And the reality is this: not only do you suffer, do we suffer, and our kids suffer, but our community suffers in generations to come because we did not make the decision to surrender, to say yes. Because your yes, my brother, I believe, is a sign not only to yourself or your families, but the generations are counting on you. They're counting on you to create.
Absolutely.
Right? To create. You talked about earlier about the world that you envisioned at a young age. The world that you envisioned outside of what you were seeing, but the world that you were envisioning to come. And you're living in it, you're walking in it. And that's just the power of being able to see things and speak things that are not as though they were. You were able to speak and see things at a young age. You spoke GP and you're that, right? And so those things are happening. And that's a prime example of the power within a Black man.
Let's go.
Come on, man.
Let's go.
The power that we have.
We got it.
That we don't even realize we have. For me, man, it's a struggle, man. And it just, as I mentioned, it's mind-boggling, man, that we don't get it. Like, here's the thing. Here it is.
Yep.
But I really don't want that right now. Chris, I see what you're saying.
It looks good.
It looks good. But I don't think that's for me.
It looks good.
Right? And like we talked about earlier, that it's not about your education level. It's not about you being the smartest in the room, but are you in the room? Do you know that you deserve to be in the room, right? And those are some of the challenges that most men, as we talk about our culture, struggle with.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I mean, you got to fail forward. You know, there's not one person in any of these chairs or in anything that someone that you might respect or value that didn't fake it till they make it. You just got to go. Like, you just got to do it. And, you know, my mantra has always been to dream lofty dreams. And as you dream, so shall you become. But you got to dream the dream first. You got to go after it. You got to do it. And you got to just put the first foot forward. And you never know how the story is going to go. But that's the whole point. And we define our life. We define our stories. You know, I always say, if you don't know which way to go or what to do, always go with what will make for a better story. Because that's the journey that you're going to want to tell over and over and over and over again. If you got to make that flight to go, you know, get the girl of your dreams, if you got to go, you know, fly across the country to go start this random business and you have no idea what to do it, like, and you don't know whether or not to do it, always go with what will make for a better story. And I think that is an energy that can give you to live an abundant life. And, you know, it'll have you have one that's full at the same time too, because we only got one of them.
I think, man, this segment will touch many because, as I mentioned at the offset, we don't see Chris Lyons. We don't know Chris Lyons. And I am so grateful, man, to have you here, man, to just share briefly your story and how God has blessed you in such an extraordinary way. Because
thank you.
I truly believe that we have the power to shift the narrative. And as we think about this code, these blessings that we have, and I like to say it's a blessed code that we live by daily.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what would you say would be the blessed code that you live by daily?
I think the blessed code that I live by daily is the opportunity to create, the opportunity to believe, and the opportunity to do something that's bigger than yourself.
Wow.
I think that one of the most important foundations that you can set when you're going after a dream or a goal is to make sure that whatever this thing is bigger than you. And I think that when you do that, and you do that effectively, and you can structure that idea, that opportunity that can be bigger than yourself, by default, you're gonna be blessed. But even more so than that, you're gonna be able to bless other people too. And I think that having that as the core foundation is the ultimate underlying frequency that can do nothing but put you in a successful opportunity.
Being a blessing to other people.
Amen.
My brother, God told Abraham that he would give him a great name. Chris Lyons is a great name. God told Abraham that he would bless him. God has blessed Chris Lyons. But most importantly, God told Abraham that you will be a blessing to others. And you just articulated that. And I just want to end this by saying, brother, I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of y'all, man. You doing the thing,
Thanks,
man. Look at this. This is a special thing.
Listen, man, we just trying to do our part, man. I appreciate it, man. But you know, it's just been heavy on my heart, man, to help us see what the opportunities and the possibilities are. And if you were able to just embrace the blessing of selflessness, doing things that are above and beyond thyself, and the idea to just believe, to create the life that you deserve, that all things are truly possible in your life, in this life. I just envision this, what life would truly be for our culture. Right?
100%.
Brother Chris, I think we've did it, man. I think we've truly decoded.
The innovation of you.
Yeah, bro. I think so. Yeah. I think so. Because greater that he is within you, that he is in the entire world. And we were not created to be mediocre. We were created to be extraordinary. So, Brother Chris.
Yes, sir.
I think we've done it, man. I think we've decoded the power of innovation.
Within you, within us.
Because the Bible says, greater that he is within you, that he is in the entire world. Man, I can't make this up, man. God is good, man. We've done
All
it,
the
brother.
time,
We've
all
done
the
it,
time,
brother.
man.
We've done
I
it,
appreciate
brother.
you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Exceedingly abundantly above
Yes,
all we
sir.
can ask or imagine,
Man, that's it. That's
Let's
it.
go to the
That's
top,
it.
to the
That's
tippy
it.
top,
That's it,
man.
man.
Let's speak it from the
Ain't
top. man.
nowhere to go but up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Stay with it, stick with it, stay ready.
Stay ready so you don't got to get ready.
Oh, man, come on. Thank you, Chris. And that's another episode of The Blessed Code. Thank you for joining this episode of The Blessed Code. Living by his code is a journey full of grace, growth, and opportunities to bless others. If today's episode spoke to you, please share this powerful message and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social to stay grounded, grateful, and blessed. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your heart open, and live life you're destined for. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you just unlocked another blessed code.